Prospect Podcast, everyone. My name is Emmy Nixon. This is episode 93. Today is February 1st, 2022, 2 days after Championship Sunday. And joining me from Austin, Texas, the Stat King himself, Michael Ween. What is up?
Emmy, everybody out there that enjoys watching sports and talking about sports, man, do we have a lot going on right now in this world? I could list everything that's going on, but we're just wasting time. And we got big news to get to. That was broken by Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington at ESPN over the weekend on Saturday morning, but didn't become official until today. And so we're going to have 2 episodes this week. We'll do Prospect of the Week on Thursday or Friday, whenever that episode occurs, just because everything was too rushed, too much going on to do it today, but we'll get to it eventually. But let's jump right in to the biggest story of the week, Tom Brady's retirement at the age of 44.
Yeah, and it came in a way that I never would have expected. You know, a few years ago, if you told me that Tom Brady would retire in a Instagram post, I would have just laughed at you, because at the time he didn't even use social media at all. So that was pretty interesting to see. But just the weird situation with the Adam Schefter report and then it not being official yet, I think it kind of rushed the process for Brady a little bit, and I kind of feel bad in that sense. But what a career, man. 22 years of dominance, just with every team he's had. I don't think he ever had a losing season in a year that he was healthy. Actually, I don't even think that he had a losing season at all, which is just incredible. And there's nothing more you can say. I mean, he's the best of all time.
Yeah. There's no amount of like snapshots or descriptions that I can give you or anybody can give you to capture the sheer scope of what Tom Brady accomplished on the football field. We all know what he accomplished. And since I'm deemed the stat king, I tried to find as many interesting stats that you maybe don't already know, because, you know, we all know about the 7 championships, the MVP awards, the Super Bowl MVPs, the Pro Bowls, the winning, you know, all that stuff. We all know about that stuff. And that doesn't need to be regurgitated. But I've spent the past couple of days, ever since this news broke on Saturday, trying to think about how I could possibly put things into proper perspective. And there's not one like right way you can do that. But I mean, if you just examine his legacy from a wider lens, I mean, not only does he have more Super Bowl rings than any player in NFL history, he has more Super Bowl rings than any team does in NFL history. He has more playoff wins, the same amount of Super Bowl appearances as the Bears, Titans, Jets, Chargers, Saints, Browns, Cardinals, Jaguars, Lions, and Ravens. He made 10 Super Bowl appearances in 20 seasons, meaning that he was more likely to make a Super Bowl than Michael Jordan was to make a field goal. The Belichick-Brady Pats won the AFC East at a higher rate than Michael Jordan made free throws in his career. Brady spent more than 400 total days in the playoffs, more than a year of his life he spent in the NFL playoffs. He played 17 games, basically a full season in the divisional round. And not only did he play 17 games in the divisional round, he won 14 of them, more than anybody in NFL history. He grew up in the Bay Area. He worshipped Joe Montana growing up. And now he has more Super Bowl wins and the same amount of playoff wins as the 49ers franchise. He finishes his career 35-12, I believe, in the postseason. I don't think anybody will ever match that. I could go on and on and on. The list continues forever. I think what I'll end up remembering Tom Brady for, and there's a lot of things, but it's just the sheer competitiveness and will to win and to not be satisfied. And I know, like, you have to have those things if you want to be great. Like, it's a common characteristic. There are common characteristics among the great athletes of our generation: LeBron, Tiger, Serena Williams. You know, we could go on and on. But it just seemed that every single year he was the most prepared. You know, he was never the biggest. He was never the fastest, obviously. And he was never the strongest arm quarterback in the NFL. But he was the most prepared, the most mentally prepared. He spent his life basically off the football field watching film. He loved that stuff. And he was more dedicated to the sport than I've ever seen anybody be dedicated to their respective sport. Just the sheer dedication, the will to win, actually winning, and just that aura to never be satisfied is something that I'll always remember Tom Brady for. And then there's obviously, we could go on and on and on about all the terrific games that there were. You know, we all talk about the Super Bowls, the Falcons in particular, Super Bowl. Everyone wants to talk about that. There are many great moments that I'll remember, but I think it's just his will to win, his dedication to the game, his ability to lead is something else that I can't really describe. I'm just rambling at this point. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, my family and myself included, we've never really been big Tom Brady fans. And for my mom in particular, she literally hates his guts. And she's probably going to listen to this and roll her eyes the entire time, like, ugh, Tom Brady, ugh. Like, but for those people that hate Tom Brady, you should at least respect all that he's done for the game of football, and also what he's done for sports in general. He has pioneered a generation of athletes that will play into their 40s. And he did that in one of the most physical and physically demanding sports in the world. So what he did with the TB12 method, his diet, what he did to keep his body young in a way, I guess. I mean, it changed the game. It changed the way we look at like off seasons as an athlete. So you know, you can't underrate any of that. I mean, there's, like you said, there's so much, but I think what he did to manage his health and to make his career longer is what I think isn't talked about enough. Obviously, we know he played 22 years. Like, it's obvious he's been around for a long time, but what he did to be able to do that, the work that he put in, the dedication that he had to have, and what he had to sacrifice, is something that I think in generations to come we'll see in a lot more athletes.
Yeah, I mean, not enough can be said. The longevity, the stuff, the preparation, the ability to be prepared off the field, the ability to lead, dedication to the sport, dedication to his body. Now you see, to your point, you see guys like, I don't know, Russell Wilson. A lot of these quarterbacks nowadays are putting millions of dollars into keeping their bodies healthy or as healthy as possible in order to elongate their careers. And Brady, as you said, you put it perfectly, he was the pioneer of that. Basically, to retire, still playing at this high of a level, leading the league in passing yards, leading the league in passing touchdowns, setting a new career high for completions, blah, 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 blah. Even though he lost in the divisional round, Brady was still playing at a super MVP caliber level to the very end. And I think the Ringer put it perfectly, he beat Father Time. We always want to talk about Father Time. It didn't matter for him. He could have played probably 1 or 2 more years at a pretty high level. Had the right situation. Was in that Buccaneers team or somewhere else. I believe he could have done it. It's rarefied air. No one's ever done it before. And that's why he's the GOAT. He's the greatest we'll ever see, I think, in our lifetimes. But now we move into the next generation of young quarterbacks that we've been raving about for the past 2 or 3 weeks because of all these great games that we've seen in these playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray. The list goes on and on. And none of them, well, I don't think will ever reach close to the heights that Brady did, but it's going to be weird, but it's very exciting to see all these young quarterbacks. The league is in great hands, even though these legends have started to leave and walk off into the sunset. Roethlisberger, Drew Brees a couple of years or a year or two ago. Now Brady, Peyton Manning, So the league is in great hands, but I think it's in great hands because of Brady. I think that can be said as well. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to finish watching his documentary on ESPN Plus now that he's officially retired.
Right. And I have to watch that as well. I actually haven't even turned it on since like episode 4, but yeah, man, I really enjoyed his last couple years in Tampa Bay in particular. I just really enjoyed seeing that different side of him that's a little bit more open, a little bit more I don't know, willing to share some of the things in his life and just be more like free, like kind of joke around sometimes, good on social media, uh, show more of himself. I really kind of enjoyed that. But all things have to come to an end, and he has nothing to prove. That's the bottom line. And I think it and you said it perfectly. He beat Father Time. I think for me personally, I think he could have played maybe 5 more years. I mean, there's no reason for me to believe that he would slow down. He's incredible. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's seen it, but I think we should at least, mention parts of it. The actual written announcement. I'll read part of it. He begins by saying, "I have always believed the sport of football is an all-in proposition. If a 100% competitive commitment isn't there, you won't succeed, and success is what I love so much about our game. There is a physical, mental, and emotional challenge every single day that has allowed me to maximize my highest potential. And I've tried my very best these past 22 years. There are no shortcuts to success on the field or in life. This is difficult for me to write, but here it goes. I am not going to make that competitive commitment anymore. I have loved my NFL career, and now it is time to focus my time and energy on other things that require my attention. And then he goes on to do some reflecting, and he talks a lot about the Buccaneers. And a lot of people were freaking out about the fact that he didn't mention the New England Patriots in his retirement letter. But that at the end of the day, I think is a non-story. We all know what he wrote, the letter that he wrote when he left the Patriots. He closed that chapter already, and now he, of course, is going to sign a one-day contract with the New England Patriots and they're going to have a retirement ceremony, I believe I read on the Twitterverse tonight. So at the end of the day, that was a non-story. Beautiful penmanship, beautiful letter, thanking the Bucs fans, the Bucs owners, the Bucs GM, the players, everybody. His family, of course, also played a big role in this. That's something we really haven't mentioned yet, but it's pretty obvious if you've been reading up on the situation, seeing the quotes that have come out from his podcasts. But he's in a great situation post-football. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I don't really see him doing TV like a lot of the other players might, but he's got a clothing brand, he's got a podcast, he's got the TB12 stuff, and so much more that he's going to be working on. His kids, of course, we'll get to spend a lot more time with them, see them grow up, and send them off to wherever they're going to go. And then obviously, spend time with family and prioritize his post-football career.
He has 3 businesses, as you said, and it's probably going to be in the business world that he's probably going to have to suffice that competitive itch that he has. And I think in the end, that'll probably do him good, because I think he'll probably end up being an incredible businessman, because he's just so determined with everything he does. But that's neither here nor there.
Right. So there's so much we could say about Brady, but at the end of the day, even though at points in times I hated him, I think if you weren't a New England Patriots fan or a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, I actually didn't hate him while he was on the Buccaneers. But regardless, if you weren't a New England Patriots fan, you probably disliked him or hated him at some point in time. But I think at the end of the day, we can all come, as you said, to respect what he has given to the game of football. And I think he'll continue to give back to the game of football just because he still loves it so much. He just doesn't want to make the commitment anymore. He, as you said, he has nothing left to prove. And that was kind of proven this year with the level of play that he put on the football field. But man, it's just, I don't think this won't be the last time we talk about Brady. We'll see him come up many times here in the next couple of years. I'm sure they'll have all kinds of stuff. A big statue put out finally in front of Gillette Stadium. They'll probably have Super Bowl anniversary nights. This won't be, trust me, the last that we see of Tom Brady. Not even close, I don't think.
Right. And with all of these quarterbacks from that era riding off into the sunset, it actually brings up interesting podcast segment for the future, maybe just kind of ranking the quarterbacks from that era, like the Mannings, Roethlisberger,
Absolutely.
Rivers, Breeze, all those guys. We could have a whole segment doing that, but that will be something for the future. Maybe some off-season content for the summer, but
Absolutely. And another thing is, if we ever do our quarterback tiers list, which we're probably going to do here very soon, I don't know when, but in the near future, um, it's going to be awfully weird having a quarterback tiers list without the likes of Brady, Roethlisberger, maybe even Aaron Rodgers. We don't know yet. I think it's unlikely that he retires, but you never know.
yeah, I agree.
And then, all those guys you mentioned, Philip Rivers, Drew Brees. It's just going to be weird without having all of them. But it just adds another team, another quarterback needy team to the list of teams that do need a quarterback. It makes for more interesting off-season topics and off-season discussion as well. So
Right, exactly. But if we're all good on that, meanwhile, while all this stuff was going down, or before the Tom Brady rumors came about, we had conference championship weekend, and we got two really incredible games as well. Let's start with the AFC Championship. What did you think about the game, and what really stuck out to you?
well, the game was fantastic, start to finish. It was pretty amazing to see the contrast of basically the two halves. I mean, this basically was like a replay, not exactly, but a replay of what happened a couple weeks back. Chiefs come out on fire. Patrick Mahomes sitting back there has all day to throw the ball. He's extending plays, making incredible throws in the back of the end zone to Tyreek Hill, impromptu plays to Travis Kelce, and they're just going up and down the field. And it looks like it's going to be, a 20-point blowout. But as we saw in Cincinnati a month ago or so, credit to the Bengals defensive coordinator and whatever halftime adjustments he does make. But man, that Bengals defense, I thought in large part, well, they obviously did a fantastic job, but I don't know what happened to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the second half. It seemed to me they took their foot off the gas a little bit. Mahomes, which he kind of tends to do nowadays every once in a while, looked mechanically off. He was missing throws that he usually makes. The screen pass interception, which basically actually gave Bengals full momentum, and that was something that was just, I don't know. And then, but it's just like, what happened to the Chiefs in the second half? It seemed to me they got conservative. It was a little bit of, I mean, why are you throwing to, no offense to Demarcus Robinson, but why, like, where's the disconnect here? Like, I'm all over the place. What do you think?
Well, the adjustments that you alluded to on the defensive side, well, it was basically they just mixed up their entire defense. They just kept mixing it up. We saw 3-man rushes, we saw 2-man rushes, and the one main thing that I really liked that he did was he spied Logan Wilson, but he also put him in charge of undercutting the short crossing route. So he was taking away two things at once. And then once Patrick Mahomes exited the pocket, he would go after him. And we saw that late in the game when they went to that 3-man rush, and Patrick Mahomes was just sitting back there because nobody was open. And that was one of the things that really stuck out to me was Patrick Mahomes' indecisiveness in the second half. Once he missed a couple throws, as you said, he started to get greedy. He reverted back to what we saw early in the season from Patrick Mahomes. And we saw a few plays where Travis Kelce was open, and he waited and he looked down the field to try to get that 40-yard pass, that 50-yard pass. And it just wasn't there. So, I mean, credit to this Bengals defense. I mean, Mike Hilton played a heck of a game. Jacoby Awuzie, that entire secondary was fantastic. And Trey Hendrickson as well. I mean, the stars have to play big in big moments. The NFL playoffs is all about seizing the moment, because there's no 7-game series. There's no next game. You gotta get it done in that moment. And, the Bengals did that. That's the thing we know about this team. If you let them hang around, they are really good at winning close games, because not only do they have a clutch quarterback, but they also have a clutch kicker.
Yeah, I think we should, as you said, going to the 3-4-man rushes, dropping 7 or 8 back in coverage, spying the linebackers, whatever it was. It was all brilliant from the Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator. The defense was fantastic from Cincinnati. Trey Hendrickson is fantastic. Still the second best pass rusher in the AFC North, but regardless, the play of Mike Hilton, man, I'm very familiar with a guy like Mike Hilton, who spent a large part of his career with the Steelers, largely as a slot corner, and a guy you could send on corner blitzes off the edge, and he was very effective in doing so. He was kind of that Swiss Army knife to the Pittsburgh defense over the past couple of years. But man, what he was able to do, not only, doing that stuff that I mentioned, but covering in coverage. He had a couple key plays that he made and was able to, be in pinpoint position and make deflections and do this and that, be disruptive. He was fantastic. And that whole Cincinnati secondary as a whole deserves a whole lot of credit. But I think we should talk more about something that I thought was going to be very important going into this game for the Bengals. And I'm not a guy who likes to give myself too much credit, but I did say that if the Bengals want to win this game, not only do they need to stay aggressive, and they did that, but you have to keep Joe Mixon in the loop. And I thought they did a great job of incorporating not only Joe Mixon, but their other running back, Pirine, into the game plan, whether it was screens, zone runs, some of which didn't work, but they kept doing it, running inside the tackles, everything. I thought they did a fantastic job keeping Joe Mixon in this game. He was making plays left and right, both in the running game, especially late in that game, and also in the passing game. I thought he was a difference maker. And this just goes to show you, I think, they don't need Jamar Chase to be superhuman that he has been for most of this year to win games. They got T. Higgins, who played maybe the game of his life. I'm sure he had, better stats, but I thought he was fantastic, just making possession down catches, critical catches late in that game. It seemed he was the guy that Burrow was looking to a lot of the time when they needed a play. And, losing Uzama early is something else that should be factored into this. That that could hurt them moving forward going into the Super Bowl. But we're not going to get into the Super Bowl right now. But just the play of Higgins, the play of Tyler Boyd, in this offensive line, which wasn't perfect, but they did enough. They did enough to win. And then Joe Burrow, man. Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr, whatever you want to call him. I mean, good Lord. Him and Zach Taylor, this offense. I don't know what you say. It's just they're resilient. That's all it is, I guess. So credit to them. Good for the Cincinnati fan base. Incredible to see them have some success after so many years of not having success, to say the least. So many playoff disappointments with Martin Lewis and years of losing. But man, just I think it's great. It's a great storyline, a good new storyline that we have. We have two great new storylines here coming into the Super Bowl. And I think it's great for the NFL. So,
yeah, and I really want to give Zach Taylor his credit. He did something that I think more coaches should emulate. The fact that he set aside his ego to make the offense the best for the team. He set aside his schemes or whatever the case would have been. And he just, to put it simply, he let Joe Burrow cook. Over the last month of the season and into the playoffs, they've thrown the ball a ton. And it's been clear the entire postseason that, as we've said the whole time, you gotta roll with the guy that brought you here. And, you know, they've done that. And he had a really interesting quote after, I believe it was after their week 14 game. He said, "We trust in Joe. The more I've been around, I've learned to just shut my mouth and let the magic occur." And, you know, not many coaches are able to just see the talent on the team and just, you know, let them play, you know.
exactly.
I think of Mike Zimmer, that Vikings offense, that team having two incredible wide receivers and a lot of weapons and the capability to be an incredible offense. But Mike Zimmer's old school mentality held them back a little bit. And it's why he's not out of a job right now. Zach Taylor, being the guy that he is and having the humility to see that, is, to me, a really big reason as to why they're here right now.
Absolutely. That's a great point. So I just think, you know, it's funny. Tom Brady was probably sitting on his couch laughing because, you know, everyone wanted to deem Patrick Mahomes the next Tom Brady. He's going to get to 10 Super Bowls and all this other crap. And he can barely make it back to, you know, he's struggling to win his second. And now with all the young quarterback talent, primarily in the AFC, it's not going to be one bit easy for Patrick Mahomes to get back there. He probably will a couple more times. He's just that great. I don't think one bad half should define him by any means. But because we saw, obviously, the other side of the spectrum in that first half where he basically had a perfect passer rating for much of it. So it's just Burrow, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I mean, we don't even know about the likes of Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. They could still be pretty good. They're just in difficult situations. It's just, I don't know, man. But congratulations to as an arch rival of the Cincinnati Bengals, congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals on getting to their third Bowl in France for a while on Sunday night. I thought that this was going to be their third Super Bowl appearance, and this would be their third time facing the 49ers in the Super Bowl, but it didn't end up that way. The Rams pulled it out 20-17. The game that I thought they would win, but man, it was looking pretty dim there for however long it was until they made a couple plays and got back into it. Your thoughts on that game?
Well, the game was in the 49ers' hands. I look back to, 9 minutes left in the game, 3rd and 2 at about your own 40-yard line or around there, and you run a fullback dive that just gets absolutely crushed and stuffed in the backfield. Over and over again, the last few drives of the game, they failed to execute. And it wasn't just Jimmy Garoppolo. It was their run blocking, just their ability to execute. It just wasn't there offensively the last, I'd say, pretty much the entire fourth quarter. After that George Kittle touchdown, they really struggled to execute. And I'll say this. I think Eric Weddle's addition to this Rams defense has been incredible. I mean, this dude has been retired for 2 years, and not only did he come back and play well, he's coming back and he's laying the wood on dudes, like just old school hitting. Like if you're running across the middle and Eric Weddle's there, you're getting popped. Like, my goodness. And he was everywhere on Sunday. He was plugging his run fit into run, made multiple tackles in the backfield in that fourth quarter to shut down that 49ers run game. And, his addition not only solidified that secondary a little bit, but it gave this Rams defense a different level of toughness and attitude that they needed to be able to shut down this 49ers run game. And in the past, they weren't able to do it. But this time around, they came prepared, they came ready, and they got it done. And they made this game a Jimmy Garoppolo game for the most part, and that played in their favor.
Yeah. I said on our preview podcast that they needed to stop the run, obviously. It was nothing that I just came up with. It was obvious, and they did that to a pretty effective standpoint. And at the end of the day, and people are going to talk about because all anybody wants to talk about nowadays is the bad, right? The Sean McVay decisions, the challenges. I didn't agree with them, but at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp are unstoppable. This Rams team is so deep, and I think it all goes back to the culture that Sean McVay has built ever since he arrived as the head coach, bringing in guys like Odell Beckham, who's not only playing good, but he's the guy Stafford looks to on big plays now. Like when they need a play, not only does he go to Cooper Kupp, but he's also throwing the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. and he's making plays, and he's playing much better than I ever thought he would at the outset of this trade that happened. Vaughn Miller is another guy we obviously know. I think he's had a sack. I don't know if he had a sack in this game. In almost every game he's played as a Los Angeles Ram. This pass rush, the ability to control the line of scrimmage. Jalen Ramsey played pretty fantastic game, and man, that matchup between him and Jamar Chase is going to be something else. But I thought for the most part, aside from maybe missing a couple interceptions that he should have had, he played fantastic. And at the end of the day, I just thought the Rams were the more talented, better quarterback football team. They ran the ball more effectively, and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford found a way to get it done. So there are going to be a lot of great matchups and storylines that we're going to talk about next week going into the actual Super Bowl. But this Sean McVay against Zach Taylor. I almost said Sean Taylor against Zach McVay. 36, 38 years old, the youngest combined age for two head coaches in any Super Bowl in NFL history. Man, it's going to be something else. The mentor against the mentee once again.
Right. And this Super Bowl matchup, it like still doesn't feel real. Like the Bungles, the kitty cats, we make fun of them. Like, what was it? Not even 6 months ago. I mean, it's just crazy. It's unbelievable.
I think the Bengals had 120-1 odds at the beginning of the season to get to the Super Bowl. So that just goes to show you like how much of a long shot people thought they were. But at the same time, there were people who thought that the Bengals would not only be much improved, but that they would make the playoffs. And they did. And now we have 2 4 seeds making the playoffs. The first time we're making the Super Bowl. The first time in NFL history that the top 3 seed in either conference has failed to get to the Super Bowl. So that's just goes to show you why the NFL is so great. The parity that has been created by all these young teams and young quarterbacks and young coaches is just unbelievable. And I think these championship games averaged 48, 49 million viewers, even higher than the games last week, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. Like we haven't seen a bad NFL game for the past since Wild Card Weekend. Like it's been so good, so good.
And I wasn't expecting much going into this weekend, to be honest. Like I expected a close game in the Rams 49ers game, but even then I was expecting kind of a slugfest, maybe not going to be all that entertaining, but no, I mean, both games were really fun to watch.
And so now you have, it was reported today, along with so many other things. I mean, you have Brian Flores suing the NFL for reasons that we'll get into probably at a later date. Caleb Williams in the college football world. Tomorrow's the next national signing day, more big recruits to sign, but Caleb Williams is going to USC. Jackson Dart is going to Ole Miss. So many other things. Tom Brady's retirement. Chris Beard going back to Texas Tech. All these storylines. Man, I forgot where I was even going with that.
There's just a whole lot going on.
Yeah. So, geez. So basically, we'll be Jimmy Garoppolo and his agent are working with the 49ers to find a trade partner. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So that's obviously going to be something else we'll have to talk about. I would take him in Pittsburgh. I've been not a Jimmy G. I don't know the word for it. I'm not
like a Jimmy G apologist, I'd say maybe a little bit.
But I don't know. I would take him in Pittsburgh for a 2nd or 3rd round pick over what we have currently on the roster. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere. I still think he's an NFL starting quarterback,
I agree.
despite his limitations. And I thought for a large portion of that game, up until when it mattered most, and that's kind of the knock on him. But for a large portion of that game, I thought he played pretty well. I thought he was pretty good. But at the end of the day, he didn't do enough. And that's kind of been the story of his career so far. Not doing
Right.
enough in those big moments, not having the athletic ability and the things that you need, ability to make plays off script, and the special talent that you need to really take your team to the next level. So
Right.
that'll be another interesting storyline that we have to follow here down the stretch or going into the off season.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams that are in the market for Jimmy G, believe it or not. There's a lot of quarterback needy teams now that these quarterbacks are retiring or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to go down this offseason. I'm excited for it.
Very. You obviously have the Senior Bowl that is going on right now. So a lot of storylines coming out of the Senior Bowl with the quarterbacks that are, teams looking at the quarterbacks that are there. Kenny Pickett. I heard a lot of stuff about Malik Willis, the guy from Liberty, today. Sam Howell, I think, had a pretty good showing today. I don't think Desmond Ritter did, but we're going to talk about all these guys when we come up on the draft here in a month or two. But our focus will now turn to, obviously, the Super Bowl. Next week, we will do a full preview on that. But I think that's going to be it for today.
Yeah. Obviously, if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. And if you're listening on your podcasting platform, leave a 5-star review. Follow us. Follow us on social media. I'm running the Instagram account. I'm going to post on there more often. It's at Raw Prospect Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Raw Prospect Pod to get notified for every new episode. And find us on Patreon as well. We have a Patreon up, and soon we will have bonus content up. Not sure when, but in the next few weeks, keep an eye out for that. I don't think we're going to have it paywalled just yet, but look out for it.
Yeah, so we're still trying to grow, and we'll be back again later this week to talk about some other things. But, just like legends themselves, Roethlisberger, Brady, Breeze from the game of football, we are going. Gone.
Peace out.
Peace.